If you got questions about anxiety, you are in the right place, my friend. Welcome to Mental Health Matters. Welcome to Mental Health Matters, where positivity, education, and normalization of mental health is our priority. I'm Aaliyah. I am a licensed practicing mental health therapist, and welcome back to Mental Health Matters. And if you're new, welcome. We talk everything mental health here, so welcome. In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I started a new series last week called Mental Health 101, where I will be breaking down common mental health diagnoses, how they affect individuals, as well as how to cope with them. So this week's topic is anxiety. So what is anxiety? Similarly to last week, I will be referencing the DSM-5, or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Health Disorders. Again, this is our mental health Bible. It has everything in here for us, so I will be referencing that. According to the DSM-5, anxiety disorders share excessive features of fear, as well as anxiety exhibited behaviors. So think of fear as the emotional response to either a real or perceived threat, whereas anxiety is the anticipation of a future threat. Now, both of them overlap, and it's common to experience fear as well as excessive worry and doubt with anxiety disorders. So, what does that mean? I'm going to put that in everyday terms for you to understand. Anxiety is an intense, persistent worry or fear that exists in everyday situations. So what does this look like? This could look like an increased heart rate. It could be persistent sweating or persistent worrying. Indecisiveness could be because you're so anxious and you don't want to make the wrong decision. You could be overthinking. Overthinking is another one. Restlessness, having trouble relaxing could be a symptom of anxiety. Rapid breathing or racing mind, that could also be symptoms of anxiety as well. It is important to remember though that there are a bunch of different types of anxieties, very similar to the depression, how there's a bunch of different types. Same thing with anxiety. There's social anxiety, there's phobias that are a result of anxiety. Selective mutism is another example. And generalized anxiety. And those are just a few. There's a lot more than that. So it's important to remember that if you are experiencing anxiety, that it may be a specific kind. It really depends on the type of anxiety that exists, the circumstances that surround it, as well as the behaviors that are associated with it. So like avoidance or like the type of thoughts that come along with it. That's what differentiates the different types of anxiety disorders. So how do you deal with anxiety? Great question. I got some answers for you. So anxiety is something that I have personal experience with. It's something that's onset later on in my life. Actually, it's pretty new, kind of. I would say I've been experiencing anxiety for the past few months, and it's affected how I do my job, how I interact with people. So it's something that I've had to navigate too. But from it, I've learned not only how to help myself, but how to help you too. One of my favorite things to do with anxiety is to ground myself. So it's important to know with anxiety, first of all, it's illogical. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. You worry about things that you probably have done a million times or that you're going to do a million times. Just remember that anxiety is illogical. So trying to apply logic to something that's illogical won't work. What you can do is bring your brain and body back to the present. When you are anxious, if you're in the midst of a panic attack or anxiety attack, 9 times out of 10, your brain is not present. You are either in the future, you're worrying about something that's coming, a decision you have to make. What ifs? Those are terrible with anxiety. What if this happens? What if that happens? So your brain is in the future, or your brain is in the past. You're worrying about a decision you made. You have regrets. Shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Those are terrible for anxiety. And so your brain is in the future or it's in the past. It is not in the present. So what grounding does is it forces your brain back inside your body into the present. So grounding is super duper easy. You're going to use all 5 of your senses. A very easy way to remember all of your senses, because I know sometimes I can forget some or miss some, is actually using your face. So what do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? What do you taste and what do you feel? You don't have to do that, but that's a very easy way to remember. So you're going to go through all 5 of your senses and start with, what can I see? And just use your environment. List off things that you see, and then you're going to move on. What can I hear? Nothing besides myself, but that's okay because I'm in tuned with my senses. I'm present, I'm focused, I'm using my environment, and so therefore by doing all of that, I'm no longer on the hamster wheel of anxiety. And it feels like that you're just stuck in the same thought pattern over and over again, not going anywhere. You're stressing about things that you have no control over, and so to get yourself off the hamster wheel, you ground yourself. So again, all 5 of your senses. I did a couple, but you're going to do all of them. To enhance them, you could use cold water. That is my favorite. If you're having a panic attack or anxiety attack, or you need to calm down fast, you use cold water. Run cold water on your hands. Put a little bit on your hands. You can put some on your face, dab some like that. Probably do it for like 10 to 15 seconds and run cold water on your hands while you're doing it. In through my nose and out through my mouth, running the cold water. I'm gonna dab it and then I'm gonna inhale and exhale a few times. Guarantee you'll feel a lot better than how you felt going into the bathroom or going towards the sink. Another way to help your anxiety is meditation. Now, I love meditation, but it's also something that you have to build your stamina for. So if you try to sit down and do like a 20-minute meditation, that's going to be hard, especially if you're not doing it regularly. So what you want to do is you start off small. Headspace is a great app to give a try. They do cost money, but it is so worth the money. I have the app, but they also have a free trial, I think. Don't quote me on that. I think they do. But what Headspace does, it's so nice. They break down everyday things that are going on. You feel stressed, you feel overwhelmed. Listen to this 3-minute meditation, and I kid you not, I was having a super overwhelming day. I want to say like maybe last week or the week before, and I could not like center myself. I could not calm myself down, and I still had more work to do. So I couldn't just cave, to how I was feeling. I had to do something about it. So I listened to 2 3-minute meditations, and I kid you not, I felt so much better just being able to just take a deep breath, step away from the stress, and just kind of recenter yourself. That is everything when you have anxiety, because you feel helpless. Like there's nothing you can do to calm yourself down, and you don't even understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. But with meditation, it helps you kind of tap into yourself and refocus, and you're able to do what you need to do to calm yourself down. So highly recommend meditation for anxiety. I said this one already, but deep breathing, it sounds so dumb and so like simple, but it really does make a big difference with anxiety. There's a bunch of different breathing exercises you could do. One of my favorites, I say favorites a lot, but I do have a lot of favorites. But one of my favorite things to do is square breathing. So you would actually draw like a square as you're breathing. So what you would do is you would inhale 4, and then hold 4, and then exhale 4, and then hold 4. And you would just repeat. So inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And they're all for 4 seconds. That's a great way to recenter yourself, to recenter your breathing, because you can have rapid breathing or rapid heartbeat when you do have anxiety. So that's a nice way to calm yourself down. There's also diaphragm breathing, where you could put your hand on your stomach, and instead of breathing through your chest, you breathe with your diaphragm. Basically, you would know you're breathing with your diaphragm when your stomach exhales. It should be moving like a balloon. It'll get big and then it'll get small. Your chest should not be moving. So to help you with that, you can keep one hand here, one hand on your stomach, and focus on the breathing with your stomach and making sure that your chest isn't moving. Diaphragm breathing can be really helpful too. Those are just a couple, but freaking Google it. There's so many deep breathing exercises, and it can really help with anxiety, especially when you feel the onset of it coming. Instead of letting it come come head on, then you're trying to figure out how to hurry up and calm yourself down. Deep breathing can be used as a way to deter the whole episode from onsetting. Sometimes you're able to make it stop, sometimes you're not, but still, you have the power to do something instead of sitting there helpless and feeling like there's nothing for you to do. My last suggestion would be medication and therapy. So for me, because I'm a therapist and I know the symptoms of anxiety and I also know how to deal with it, I'm more equipped to handle it. But even still, like, even if I feel equipped, I'm always like checking in with myself, like, is this manageable? Is this manageable? The moment it doesn't become manageable, I'm running to a therapist, okay? And I'm already in therapy. But I'm always checking with myself and seeing how I'm doing, because the moment that I'm not okay, I'm going to go get help. And so you do that with you. You know, the questions you need to ask yourself is this manageable? Can I handle this on my own? Do I feel like I have a grip on this, that if I can feel it coming, I know what to do, I can handle it? If the answer is no to a lot of those questions, you may want to contemplate talking to someone. And here's why. With any mental health diagnoses, remember that knowledge is power. I cannot emphasize that enough. The more you know about it, the more you can do about it. If you have random anxiety attacks and you have no idea what's setting them off, then you're completely helpless. You can't do anything about it. But if you learned, oh, every time I walked into the laundry room, I feel my anxiety go up, boom, that's a trigger for you. So then you're able to learn, okay, what is it about the laundry room? And you can totally go from there. But the point is, the more you know about your ailment, the better you can deal with it, cope with it, and learn how to live your life with it. It is not a death sentence. So with your anxiety, I would encourage you, learn about it. Is it manageable? And if it's not manageable, get some help. And also too, medication can be really helpful because it can center those the physiological things that are going on in your brain, your fight, flight, or freeze, what is that called? Flight response. Let me scratch all that because I can't even remember what it's called. Medications can help manage the physiological symptoms that are going on with your mental health, but if you were to solely rely on the medications, you would be totally missing out on all the things that you have the power to do to manage it. So yes, explore medications, but it doesn't have to be the end all be all. It could be helpful, but it won't solve it 100%. Just know that going in. I think the combination of medication and therapy will be super helpful with dealing with your anxiety. Just like last week, I have interviewed another special guest that will tell us about their real life experience with anxiety. Her name is Tina. She's awesome and was very open about her experience. If you want to hear more about that, stay tuned. Okay, so today we have with us Tina. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
You're welcome.
I wanted to just talk to you about your anxiety and kind of have a conversation about it. So tell me, how long have you had anxiety?
I have probably had anxiety for about 2 years now. In the last year, I've noticed it's been more prevalent in the situations that trigger it. So probably about 2 years.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, do you have any idea what made your anxiety onset in the first place?
I have not the slightest clue. And the way my anxiety works, it makes me very anxious when I do things that I've always done. So driving now causes me anxiety. It's the weirdest thing to me because I've literally driven all over the country. I'm an excellent driver, but I get nervous now, and I've even had a panic attack while I was driving. And it doesn't make any sense.
Weird. And you know what? Sometimes mental health is like that. It just comes like out of nowhere and unprompted. Okay.
Yeah.
So describe to me, what is life like with anxiety now? You already mentioned the driving. How else does it affect you?
Honestly, I call myself a scatterbrain, right? Because if we're talking about something, I go around in a whole circle before we get back to the original point. Because I have so many thoughts and everything. And I almost would say that's kind of anxiety related too, because my head is always full of just so much stuff. It's difficult for me to shut my mind off. And my anxiety now, it's like I have to tell myself, like, you know, be careful not to say like really bad things to myself. You know how we say stuff like, you know, like I'm uncomfortable. I can't say stuff like that because it's like my subconscious will take that and it'll run with it.
So you even have to change the way you're talking to yourself, basically.
I do. And I have to constantly remind myself to do that.
Okay. And so this wasn't an issue before the anxiety came?
No, not really. I've always been a scatterbrain. And then I've always had trouble sometimes turning my mind off at night. But it's not racing thoughts. Okay. And so it's just like stuff. It's like a movie playing, honestly.
What do you mean? It's a movie playing?
How do I describe it? Like, you know, you close your eyes and it's dark and you go to sleep.
Right.
Sometimes I close my eyes and it's like I see light.
Oh. Okay.
And it like my imagination takes off.
Okay.
So it's weird like that. And that's kind of new. Yeah. That's kind of new.
Okay. Interesting. But you know what? Anxiety affects people in different ways. So it is what it is, I guess.
I mean, yeah, and I recognize that, you know, I think that's one of the things that's been most helpful to me is that, you know, I am a licensed therapist. And so I see it and I know what it is. And it helps me because it doesn't make me feel like weird or ashamed or anything, because I know it can happen to anyone, you know, and even though I don't know what caused it, it's here now. So I have to deal with it.
Right. And it's a normal part of life. Things happen and we just learn how to deal with it. And this is just one of those things that you're learning how to deal with. Okay. What would you consider are some hardships because of your anxiety?
One of the things that I know I can no longer do is I cannot do road trips. Because my anxiety mostly is triggered when I am in unfamiliar areas. So I can't do road trips anymore. Like I drive around like my metro city, you know, I can drive around my city and I don't feel anything because I'm familiar. But if I like driving in Tennessee was the worst for me. Like literally my anxiety was so bad driving that I would see the cars moving back and forth. Like it was distorting like how I saw things. And my heart was racing. And so no, I can't do road trips anymore. I limit my time away. Like I don't go in areas with a lot of people because sometimes that can make me anxious. So like I've always been a concert person. And I think this has a lot to do with the pandemic. The pandemic has made me more of an introvert because I'm always at home.
Right.
So there's that. I avoid places with a whole lot of people. I mean, and I can't do road trips. That's mostly my limitations. Because as far as how it affects my sleep, I've always had sleep problems. So I kind of just lump it in with those. Okay. Because sometimes I just don't sleep, and that's normal in my life, unfortunately. So yeah.
Okay. Have you noticed, because you mentioned the road trips and like out of town, that makes sense. But what if you're going like to a different city that you may not be super familiar with? Does your anxiety kick in there too?
Yep. Until I get familiar with it, my anxiety is really high if I'm driving in inclement weather. And these are situations that have never bothered me. Like I went to get my hair done in a snowstorm before. Like
same.
These things have never bothered me. So it's very weird. It is very weird.
Yeah. Okay. And let me ask you, how have you been adjusting since this is the second year you've been dealing with this? How have you adjusted to having anxiety now?
I take it one step at a time. when I'm really anxious and then I have to push through it, I know that I try to ground myself. I have to, say things to myself. Like I have to remind myself, like, it's okay. You're not in danger. Nothing's going to hurt you. You don't have to be afraid. So, I do things like that. And it helps a little bit that I can get through it. But for the most part, I've picked up a number of hobbies during the pandemic. And then I started a business. And so those things all together, they keep me busy. They keep me focused on other things. And I'm trying to come out of my shell. Like this is a challenge to me. Like, I'm going to let her interview me and put it online. Like, so like,
yes.
This is one of those things. Like, okay, yeah, you can do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'm so glad. I wasn't sure if I was going to find people that were willing. So appreciate.
Yeah, because I think it's awesome what you're doing. Yeah, because especially as a Black woman.
Yeah.
We have problems in our community understanding mental illness and therapy, and so the more voices, the better.
Yes. Thank you, Tina. I so appreciate that. That's exactly why I want to do this. This is super uncomfortable for me too. I've been anxious all day. And I'm like, why did I do this to myself? But it's bigger than us. It's bigger than our anxiety. So I'm so glad that you agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit. So you talked about how your anxiety affects you. So have you noticed your anxiety affecting things outside of you? So like your relationships with friends, family, or has anyone's perceptions of you changed because of your anxiety?
Like, because I get anxious when I drive now, I drive slower. And so my family does not understand that because I have always been a speed demon. And I don't think they it doesn't make sense. Like,
right.
What do you mean you have anxiety? You've never had anxiety before?
Right.
Like, they don't get it, I don't think.
What happens if you try and explain it to them?
I have explained it to them. And they empathize with me. They don't ridicule me or anything, but it's like, I wouldn't have believed it either until it happened. So,
right.
I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I get
but
it.
It doesn't sound like you faced anything negative from your support system.
No, I have I keep my circle small. And like pretty much everybody surrounding me, if they're not naturally family, then the universe has made them family. And so, no, I haven't had any problems with my connections or anything.
Okay.
Not really.
That's really good to hear, because that is unfortunately not super normal in our society. A lot of people are stigmatized for it. So I'm glad that didn't happen to you. What do you think people should know about anxiety?
It can happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone. It can be triggered by anything. It does not make any sense whatsoever. But if it happens, be honest with yourself about what's happening and try not to be afraid, because it's going to run its course. And just, seek help if you need it. I'm very fortunate that my anxiety is mostly mild. It's mostly triggered by situations that I can control to a certain extent, Like if it's raining, I know I'm not driving 50 miles. It's just that simple, know? So there's that, but it's tough, and it can happen to anybody, like I'm mostly normal. Like, I like to do the things that I like to do. I have fun. I have a great support system. I'm well loved. I have a good career. And I have anxiety about things that I've always done now. And it's like, it's not really anything I can do about it. But deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you gave some good tips. That was going to be my next question, but you were starting to do it already. Reaching out for help, recognizing the changes within yourself and kind of figuring out how to adjust to it. You said a lot of good things. Can you think of anything else or any tips for anyone out there that's watching this that may be experiencing something very similar to you on how to deal with their anxiety?
I think that like anxiety is irrational, right?
So is, yes.
So like it can trigger a fear response in things that you're not even afraid of. And what I try to do is be in that moment, and I challenge those fears. So like if I'm anxious about something that's happening around me, and I know like if I can separate myself from it right now, I can separate myself from it and say that's not going to hurt you. Like, and so that's helpful for me. And just listing the good things about yourself, the good things in your life. I'm a Christian, so I pray a lot. And so oftentimes if I'm anxious about something, I'll pray. And that is helpful to me. I play music that I like that can bring me out of it. You know, like are you really gonna be anxious while you listen to Cardi B? Like, right? That's what I tell myself.
Okay, I love that.
And I have to distract myself.
Yes,
is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And so if I understand that might not work for everybody. But that's what I have to do. So find something that can work. And if it's more severe, like this, I'm on the left of the spectrum. Like I'm not that bad. But if it's more severe, talk to someone. Talk to somebody who understands it. Talk to somebody that can help you. Don't be afraid of what the doctor says if you talk to one. Listen to your therapist, you know, and it's not just a therapist. Sometimes it's like a therapist. It could be your pastor at your church, or it could be a friend who is mentally prepared to help you.
Yes.
So make sure if you're talking to somebody, they can handle what you're about to give them.
Yeah.
But you know, like just look at who can help you and get the help that you need, because it shouldn't be debilitating. And I know for a lot of people it is.
Yeah. And that's kind of the sign too that, you know, you need to do something about it. If it's getting to the point where it is becoming unmanageable, or if it's interfering with your everyday life, those are kind of like warning signs, like, yes, you need to do something about it. So I love that you mentioned that. I'll just throw some in there too. There's a bunch of apps that you can use to help with your anxiety. Headspace is one of them. Calm app is another one. And a lot of times they're free or have free trials. You can use those. YouTube. Oh my goodness. Have you ever looked up like sleep music or something? Like hours of things. You can Google a lot of tips to help you with your anxiety. One of my favorite things to do is grounding and meditation to help. I have anxiety too. Like I haven't been diagnosed officially, but I know I have it. I exhibit.
Right. Yeah, that's the same thing. Like I know I have it. I haven't been diagnosed, but I know what it is.
Yeah. We're aware. We're therapists. We're aware.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't even like ask you to introduce yourself when we started talking. Okay. Do you want to say anything about yourself or who you are?
You know, I think I said like a little bit about who I am. Like, you know, I'm B. Like,
yes.
You know, I'm a therapist, but I don't practice actively. And I mean, I have low grade anxiety.
That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tina, for your time. I so
thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, I so appreciate any support that you're willing to give. I really hope that you were able to take something away from this and share this. You know, if this isn't something that you're going through personally, share it. You never know who's suffering silently. So I hope you like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see the rest of my uploads. I plan to do a lot with this channel, not just mental health. I'm thinking of doing like a vlog series so you can see, you know, me besides talking about mental health stuff all the time, just seeing me as a person. So stay tuned. This channel is going to grow. Trust me, mark my words. We are going to be big. So join the Mental Health Matters family. And with that, I will see you in my next one. Bye.